And welcome everybody for our second day. Please, I think it's Tanzania, please mute. Welcome for our second day, our session. This day is going to be very interesting. So I'm going to invite Meti to give us more details on what's going to happen today. Meti?
Thank you, Jenny. Good morning, everyone. Your Royal Highness from each country, colleagues from plan country offices and implementing partners. I hope you had a great night and rested well. So as Jenny mentioned earlier, the second day is exciting. We will be having a session where we will be sharing experiences from each country on their experiences in adaptation of the AU aspirations, protocols, and expectation on ending child marriage, what the best practices are, what the challenges are, and we'll also have a session where we'll be developing action plans with from each country. And then we will be concluding our meeting with declaration of what we're going to do in the coming project period. So thank you again for joining us today. So today's session will begin with the summary of the summary of the first day, yesterday. But before I begin that session, I would like to invite Mozambique. If you remember yesterday, due to connectivity issue, they were not able to cheer for the traditional leaders as the other countries on the accomplishment of the best practice document, which was launched yesterday. So please, Mozambique, I would like to give you the floor for 2 minutes to cheer for the traditional leaders, as you have requested yesterday. So, Octavia?
Yeah.
Hello? So, Octavia. Can you hear us? Octavia, can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you, but we are facing some challenge. It's breaking sometimes. I think that it is a network issue.
Okay, so do you want to continue, or do you want, or maybe cheer later on, so that we'll proceed with this session when the connection improves, maybe later on?
We will do it later after the presentation of our action plans and declaration. Thank you.
But I can see people standing. So you want to do it later? Okay. I think we've lost Mozambique.
Yes, mate, we'll do it later when we present our action plans and declaration.
Good, thank you. Thank you for the permission. So I will proceed with the next session. So what we are going to do is I will give each country, initially I was planning to give 5 minutes for each country, but since we started late, due to different reasons, I'm going to give 3 minutes for each country to reflect on what were the best, their takeaway from yesterday's session. So let me start with Tanzania. So and then we'll proceed with the others. So 3 minutes. Each country will reflect on the best parts for them yesterday, what they have taken from our session yesterday. We remember we had different sessions where we were able to discuss on the AU protocols, aspirations, and expectation on ending child marriage. We had discussion among our young people and the traditional leaders. We also had a session where we also discussed on the impact of COVID-19 on ending child marriage in our project countries. Yeah, we also had a launching of the best practice document, which was developed by the Center of Excellence. So I will give everyone, every country 3 minutes to share with us what they have, what was the best session for them yesterday. So I will start with Tanzania. Please, Tanzania, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. For Tanzania, what's the best presentation that we found it is the best for us is maybe to adapt was about how traditional leaders are cooperating with the youth in implementing the several activities of ending early marriage in the community. So for us, the Nanga concept is for the best for us because in our community also have several cultural customs that we are conducting, but they are intending to make the youth for the elder, no, yeah, let's say for the time of their life. So for us, we can see that we can take those action done in the colleague. And we can modify in our countries because we have the same customs and how we can add some new practices. We know we can increase the knowledge to the community, to the traditional leaders, then it can spread to the youth who are entering into that custom activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Highness. Okay. So how the traditional leaders are cooperating with the youth is one of their takeaways, and they have also, Tanzania have also mentioned that the Nanga concept presented, they have a similar culture in their country, but they will somehow use it in their context. So thank you, Tanzania. I will give the next opportunity to Malawi. Malawi.
I think they can hear you from there.
Okay,
yes,
thank you.
Can hear you.
For Malawi, I think these are the following takeaway for Malawi. One, we learned in this conference that participation of the youth in ending child marriages is very key and paramount. So we need to involve them, and they should be the key leaders and the drivers in the process, because most of the issues that we are talking about really affects the youth. So if they take an active role, that will be very, very important. And the results that we are going to achieve in the process will be long-lasting. The second one, we also learned yesterday, and as a takeaway, that there's a need for coordination among our traditional leaders, because most of these issues happen within the confines of the community. So basically, their involvement is very critical. We are mindful of the efforts that they are already doing, that we learned yesterday, the bylaws and the modification of the various norms. So this is also another crucial aspect in as far as the fight against the issue of child marriage is concerned. But also we learned that as a key to actually ending child marriage, one of the key things that we need to do is promote education, because that also delays the entry into marriages, but also give the girls an opportunity to make choices in future as well as in their life. So that's also another way and another strategy that we can implement in that. But basically also one key thing that we learned as Malawi on the launch of the book that we saw yesterday was that we need also to be accountability for results in what we do. Yesterday within ourselves, we were discussing that there's a lot of efforts that we're doing as a country, but sometimes documentation has been very limited. So we have learned from our colleagues that indeed we need to document and be able to account for whatever we are doing, rather than just talking and without really being informed by the efforts on the ground. So we have learned about that. But again, we've learned on the same to say there is need for investment in both boys and girls, as this is crucial in the sense that for them to lead an independent life really hinges on their capability to lead productive lives that will make choices in their lives. But also learned about the role of our chiefs. And one of the key things that we learned from this very esteemed forum has been the cultural practices that they're using. And we've learned on the need that these cultural practices, we need to modify them as well as use them to our advantage and not just being harmful as they have been. So we have learned on the very important cultural practices that we've learned. I think there was a mention from my cultural practices from Zimbabwe and how effective they're using it to make sure that they're ending child marriage. So we've learned about the same, and this is a very good learning point for we'll be able to sit down and say, okay, for us, which are the cultural practices that are there and how best can we modify them and use them to our advantage? Over, and that's from us from Malawi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Malawi. So you have mentioned that you have learned that youth involvement is key driver in the child marriage, the need for coordination among traditional leaders. Promoting education is very important in terms of delaying entrance to marriage. The launching of the best practice document has been important because it has given you the idea that documentation is important, not only doing the activities, but documentation of the activities also important. Investing in both boys and girls is also another key learning in the role of our chiefs in using cultural practices for better, modify them. Modify and use them to benefit young girls in their communities. So thank you so much, Malawi, for that. And I will give the chance to Zambia. You have 3 minutes, please. Zambia. Hi, Zambia.
Hi.
We are not able to see.
So there were a lot of takeaways for yesterday's session. Are you able to hear me?
We can hear you, but the pictures, the video, only looking at face, but to see the participants, right? Everyone.
Okay. So there were a lot of takeaways for yesterday's sessions, and one of the things that we thought, or that to take is learning about the different impacts that different countries experience when different countries had their lockdowns.
Zambia, you're muted, so could you unmute your mic, please? Yes, thank you.
Okay. So as I was saying, a lot of challenges and experiences that were observed during the lockdown from different countries are some of the things that we thought were really a takeaway home. Mozambique brought in other aspects, Zimbabwe brought in other aspects, Tanzania, Malawi, and Zambia. And also just the discussion, the first panel discussion, that the chief here in Zambia, government officials from Malawi and other UNICEF and other people had, they brought in the work that has been happening, because if the fight against child marriage has to end, there is need to start from somewhere. So that panel discussion really highlighted where this project is coming from, where it is going, where are the gaps, and the need to work together for concerted effort so that we see the end to child marriages. The youth discussion in the afternoon was also another parcel of taking away, because as youths, they're actually in the forefront, moving alongside traditional leaders and other leaders in the fight against child marriages. They discussed a lot of things, and they also brought in recommendations, what they think could work well if the fight against child marriage is to be fought.
Okay, Zambia. Yes. Thank you very much, Zambia, for sharing your takeaway. So the highlight for Team Zambia was during the first panel discussion, where key gaps were mentioned by participants in terms of the national adaptation of the AU protocols and aspirations. So thank you, Zambia, for that. I will give the opportunity for Zimbabwe. Please, Zimbabwe, you have 3 minutes. Zimbabwe.
Okay, morning. My name is Mandrawe from Mutasa district, representing Headman Zindi. Yes, yesterday, what we learned yesterday, we learned that as traditional leaders, we should be actively involved in the efforts to end child marriages. We also learned that we must be connected to the youth, so that the youth, we must be very supportive to them, seeing their needs, raising awareness campaigns, and whatsoever the need might be. Also, in the situation of COVID, we heard that COVID affected most of the countries. By so doing, it incinerated a lot of early pregnancies. So there is a threat in the future if the COVID situation always continue, that maybe our targets will not be completed, but we are working strongly on the ground to reduce these child marriages. And also, it is good practice for the traditional leaders to work with the children, to be supportive in their projects, whatsoever they are doing, to especially these livelihoods projects. They should be supported strongly, and there is need for more of these projects to be done, so that the youth should be actively involved in livelihoods project to stop these child marriages. Because when you are busy doing something, you forget all those stuff of running into an early marriages. Lastly, the awareness campaign globally in most of the countries, we saw that it is an essential tool being introduced, being used to end child marriages by most of the countries. So that one, it was rated #1 because people should be well informed, whether be parents, whether be children, the communities, everybody. Multi-sectorial approach, we have to noise up the thing. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Zimbabwe. So they have raised important points. The role of traditional leaders is important in ending child marriage. The importance of traditional leaders and youth working together. The traditional leaders must be supportive to the youth. And the impact, the situation which is created due to the COVID-19 and its impact on child marriage is something that must be given an emphasis and something that must be addressed. And finally, mentioned that awareness campaign on child marriage is very important. Thank you, Zimbabwe. I think we're left with Mozambique. So if you can speak now, Mozambique, please, could you share with us learning?
Bom dia, meu nome é Antônio Julião Cumbe. Bom, a princípio agradecer bastante este encontro. Sobre o dia de ontem, muito aprendemos sobre casamentos prematuros, onde podemos perceber que, afinal de contas, esta má prática não é só de Moçambique, assim como de outros países. E acreditamos nós que, unindo os esforços, tal como se disse, que há necessidade de juntar as forças, tanto por parte dos líderes como dos jovens, para tentar combater este mal. Bom, acreditamos nós que com estes esforços todos, podemos sim acabar com os casamentos prematuros. É dizer que já, pelo menos para Moçambique, damos alguns passos, graças, sobretudo, à implementação de vários projetos por parte da Plan, e estamos a trabalhar nas comunidades assim mesmo, em pequenos grupos, e muito está a se fazer, não só por parte dos jovens, assim como dos adultos, que são os pais encarregados. Sem delongas, acredito eu que o dia está apenas começando, e espero mais recolher informações sobre esta matéria para o dia de hoje. Bom dia a todos. Obrigado.
Thank you. At some point, I was expecting a translation. Octavia, will we have... yes, thank you.
Well, thank you. I think the experience that, the lessons that Mozambique has is somewhat similar to the lessons that the other countries have already shared. We talked a lot about early marriage yesterday, and we realized that was a harmful practice, and there is a need that all countries address the problem. So we also emphasize that we must jointly put efforts to combat this problem together with the youth. In Mozambique, there are lots of actions which have already been carried out, especially on the projects that Plan International is putting in place in the communities to address the problem. So we are involving in the communities, the community leaders, the parents, everyone, every member in the community to help us fight this problem. So I think it's still a long day. If I have any further ideas to share, I will put them forward. Thank you all. That's all.
Okay, thank you so much, Mozambique.
There's one more sharing here from a community leader.
Okay, we'll give 2 minutes for that. Okay.
Bom dia, muito obrigado. Sou Pedro Rafael, líder tradicional. Sim, a primeira coisa é agradecer tanto. Sim. Agradeço tanto pelo esforço do governo que faz para com que as reuniões prematuras de facto vão de fora não alcançar nas nossas comunidades e também por o peso que a liderança tradicional de facto assume para esses desafios de eliminação de uniões prematuras. E agradecer também o esforço do governo, de facto, por ter traçado uma lei que pune esses que violam os direitos da criança sabemos muito bem de que os hábitos dos nossos pais, de facto, usavam as filhas como se fosse um negócio para pagamento de algumas coisas, ou mesmo tratamentos, assim como os bens. Mas com essa iniciativa, de facto, ou essa lei traçada, de facto, estamos a registrar um grande impacto naquilo que é o nosso trabalho de dia após dia para a eliminação das uniões prematuras, e assim defender os direitos da criança. Muito obrigado.
Thank you very much. My name is Rafael and I'm a community leader. I would like to thank a lot the efforts that the government has put forward to fight AL marriages in our country as well as in our communities. The government has helped a lot in devising a law on eliminating the early marriages in our country. And also ourselves as community leaders, we're putting lots of efforts in our communities to put in place this law that the government has. I see that there are changes which are happening because in the past, many people in our communities used to look into their children, the girls in this case, as commodities to pay for lots of things that they need for their families. And because we have been applying this law, we see that lots of changes are occurring and that community.
So I will give the opportunity to speak for our young people, if there are young people with us today too. Because we haven't given them, yeah, so from in, I will give the 1 or 2 young people. They have anything to reflect on.
Não. Bom dia. Eu acredito que muito aqui já foi dito e eu também gostaria de agradecer bastante a esta oportunidade e dizer que aprendi muito ontem e podemos perceber que nós, as crianças, não só fazemos parte do problema, mas também parte da solução. Então, se nós queremos acabar com as uniões prematuras, não só devemos consciencializar os líderes comunitários e as pessoas dentro da nossa comunidade, mas nós também como crianças. Nós também devemos saber defender os nossos direitos, saber dizer não às uniões prematuras, saber lutar pelos nossos direitos, lutar pelos nossos sonhos, porque não é fácil, nós sabemos que é uma tarefa muito difícil, mas nós acreditamos que unindo esforços, nós podemos lutar contra esta causa. E nós também estamos muito, muito felizes porque nós percebemos que não somos nós apenas estamos lutando para acabar com esta causa, mas existem outros membros de outros países que também lutam pela mesma causa. Então, nós ficamos muito felizes e mais fortes ainda porque acreditamos que juntos iremos mudar este mundo. E obrigada.
Obrigada. Okay. Quick translation of what she has already expressed, please.
Okay, she started by saying that she's very thankful to be in this meeting. It is true that a lot has already been shared by people who spoke before, but she looks into this meeting as an opportunity for everyone to share ideas so that the problem of early marriages can be addressed. She highlighted that children are not only part of the problem, they should also part of the solution. In this regard, there is a need that the youth can carry out campaigns to raise awareness, not only to community leaders or all the elderly members in the community, but also to their peer children, so that these children can also be actively involved in solving and also fighting for their own rights. She understands that it's not an easy task, but joint efforts can ultimately help in ending early marriage in our country as well as in our community. She was quite amused for the fact that she sees that there are many countries who are experiencing a similar problem, and getting together in this meeting, showing that we are facing the same problem. It's an opportunity that we all have to together work for the same cause. So this is an opportunity that we. And thank you, that's all.
Oh, thank you so much. What a wise, wisely put expression, joint effort in ending child marriage. Thank you. So I will give one more chance if we have any other young people from the other countries who wants to say something. Please raise your hands. Just in 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to thank the efforts. Okay, I just want to thank the efforts being put by our headmen in trying to end child marriages in Zimbabwe, and also the laws they are putting. The chances of child getting married are reduced. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kwambiri chayamba ndikuthokoza kwambiri aplani maka chifukwa cha mkumano umene anaukonza watithandiza achinyamata maka kuti tipitirize kugwira ntchito limodzi ndi mafumu, komanso maka pothesa maukwati ana, komanso ife achinyamata tipitiriza kupereka malipoti amene tingakumane nawo maka maukwati ana, chifukwa ma youth club timatha kupeza malipoti kutipeza nawo malipoti kuti kwakuti kwachitika maukwati ana. Ndiye chimene chichi timatha kukafika nawo kwa mafumu kukawauza kuti kwakuti kwachitika maukwati ana, timayenda nawo limodzi ndi mafumu aja kukathesa ukwati uja. Ndiye pa mkumano umene wakonzeka wataphunzira dzulo zikutithandizira kuti tipitirize ndithu kugwira ntchito ndi mafumu kuti tionesese kuti maukwati ana athesedwa Malawi muno, ndipo izi zipitirira, ndipo ife achinyamata tikhala pasogolo kuonesesa kuti maukwati ana madera mwathu mafumu athu simukuchitika maukwati ana. Zikomo kwambiri.
So as the youth from Malawi, they are very thankful, firstly to Plan Malawi for organizing this very important gathering and exposing them to the various countries that are really participating. What they do is that they believe that this gathering will enhance coordination among the various stakeholders, especially in the issue of ending child marriage. They've learned a lot on what other countries are doing in this issue, as well as also this has increased their zeal to make sure that all cases of child marriages that are happening in their communities are reported, as well as they are really dealt with. And for them, they are seeing a future for Malawi. You remember yesterday there was a question that is it a wishful thinking that by 2030 all child marriages will end? So for the youth in Malawi, they believe through these gatherings and through these discussions and the efforts that we are doing, we'll be able to conquer and make sure that the child marriages are a thing of the past. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's always good to hear from our young people. It's not a wishful thinking, and if we put our efforts together, we will be able to do that. Thank you so much. Without further ado, I would like to take you to the next session. which will be focusing on the exchange of experience among our traditional leaders from all of the 5 countries on their experiences of national adaptations of the AU protocols, aspirations, and expectations. This session will be led by Margaret Nakamba, Program Manager from Zambia. Margaret, over to you to lead us to this session. Thank you, Margaret. If you can hear me, please continue.
Hi, are you able to hear me?
Yes, Margaret, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you so much. So we'll take about 1 hour, 20 minutes to look at the practical experiences and sharing of the challenges and recommendations on the adaptation and also domestication of the AU protocols by the traditional leaders. So for a start, we'll give each country about 5 minutes to dive deeper. I know we started looking at these issues yesterday, so maybe it's just a continuation. We want people to dive deeper and just highlight on what is in terms of the adaptation and also domestication normative frameworks on the AU in the area of ending child marriages. So maybe we start with Tanzania. We give you 5 minutes just to dive deeper and share your practical experiences. Thank you. Traditional leaders from Tanzania, 5 minutes. Tanzania, you hear us?
Yes, we are here. Okay, from Tanzania, we can also explain in short on our experience of activities undertaken to end child marriage and teenage pregnancies. Generally, we are conducting these activities, but focusing and adapting on our national plan of action that is prepared to end child marriage, to end violence against women and the children. And among the violence that we know is including that action of early marriages and the child or teenage pregnancies. So from our national plan of action, what is planned as the guideline is just to make a structure from which the committees are formed from the national level to our regional, district, and village levels. So those committees are including several groups of members from the relative communities within which we have traditional leaders, we have the government officials, we have the police desks, we have the religion representatives, the youth representatives, children representatives from in school and out of school. So all together, they are implementing several activities in ending that early marriages in our communities. Therefore, at our implementing areas, what do? We are first making an action plan, which we are implementing as a team, as I've said. So, so far, what we can consider as the best practice, first, as a project, the project supported the availability of birth certificates for the girls under 18, and because in several cases, the violation cases that are facing these ladies or these girls, in most cases, we found that we are failing or we are getting challenges, because if we take the cases in progress in dealing with them, in some areas or in some situations, you may find that we are lacking the evidence that the affected girl is in what age, because a lot of girls had no these birth certificates. So the project, in cooperation with the government, supported the availability of those birth certificates, and so far, almost 1,121 girls have already got their birth certificate in Tanzania through this project. And the second, the basic practice from on our activities is formation and strengthening of youth clubs, the in-school and the out-of-school clubs. From that committees, from that clubs, it's where we succeeded to get some cases, and so far those cases are resolved by government authorities in different areas. So for us, it is one of our success. But also, what we did also is on establishment of bylaws, because in dealing with this program of ending child marriages and teenage pregnancies, in absence of bylaws, it is somehow a challenge. So at our areas of implementation of projects, the Plan International organization, in cooperation with the government, tried to establish these bylaws to help on the progress or in the implementation of all activities based on ending child marriages. So far, the bylaws is in progress, but already we have collected the opinions from the communities on what to put in our bylaws. So this is good for us, and we think it will help a lot in dealing with the activities of ending child marriages. One challenge we are facing, maybe we can share with you, our fellow colleagues from other countries, is sometimes we are getting the challenge in getting the cooperation, especially from the affected parties, because if the cases are reported in our committees or in our clubs or sometimes in the government offices, in dealing with that problem or that case, we need to get the evidence from the affected parties. But sometimes we are getting the challenge because some people, some parents or guardians or the community members, they are fearing to provide the evidence. So this is somehow a challenge in Tanzania. Maybe we can share from our fellow, how are you doing over there? Because we are all focusing on ending the child marriages in our community. I think shortly, I can present this in that way, but all in all, we are adapting the AU protocol in our national level, but it is domesticated in our ground levels, in the village, in the community levels, but based on the national plan of action of ending child marriages. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think we'll move to the next country, then we'll give time to ask questions. But for now, if there's any specific question for a specific presentation, you can type in the chat box or take note of the questions so that we don't forget. At this point, we'll go to Malawi. Maybe we focus on the best practices on how we are adapting the AU protocols in the area of ending child marriages. And then we'll have time to look at the challenges and provide recommendations on how we can handle those challenges. Thank you so much, Malawi. From Malawi, we'll get to Zambia.
Yeah, thank you very much. In Malawi, our basic practices, we have established committees at the village level, and we have also establishing youth networks, male champion, and the mother groups at the Bible school level. And those groups we have established with the intention of fighting against early marriages and the teenage pregnancies. And also by using these groups, we have managed to pull out a lot of our young girls for marriage and sending them back to school. We have got also challenges which we are facing. Other young girls, they are leaving our communities, or they are rushing away from our communities and go far from our communities with the intention which they want to be in the marriage. And the second challenge is lack of support to those girls whom we are pulling out from the school. They don't have enough support, so that, the poverty is one of the positives of the entering in the marriage because they are young. And third challenge is we do have high resistance from the parents. They are not joining us in the war of fighting against the early marriage and the teenage pregnancies. So in brief, I can say that in Malawi, our best practices is that, and our challenges is what I'm saying. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Malawi. We are within the 5 minutes. So we move to Zambia. You share with us the best and actual experiences in the domestication of the AU frameworks in the area of ending child marriages. We have 5 minutes for that presentation.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Matty.
Hi, Sam. Janie. Hello.
Can you hear
you? Janie.
Yes.
Is it only me? I can't hear anything coming from Zimbabwe, I think, or Zambia.
Zambia, I can see. Zambia, are you able to speak? Zimbabwe, I can't see them.
Are you able to?
You need to switch off one of your gadgets.
Are you able to hear us?
Precious, yes, we can hear you now, I think.
Okay, so can we take it up?
Yes. Margaret, over to you. Sorry.
My name
Hello, from Zambia, are you able to hear us?
I think
yes,
Matthew.
my name is
Yes, go ahead.
My name is Chief Love.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead now.
My name is Chief Love Mort and I am Mutasa. I can safely make an assertion that I'm a strong advocate against child marriages because I've written a paper, a book on ending child marriages in Zimbabwe, which is circulating among traditional leaders, which shows that a traditional way I should say we are actually number one, I should say, in this bill to end child marriages, because we have a landmark constitutional court judgment which was passed by the Constitutional Court, which outlawed child marriages. It was made in 2016. The landmark judgment, in that judgment, it's a 52-page judgment, and they've referred to the African Charter in that judgment. In other words, in Zimbabwe, the issue of child marriage has been constitutionalized. In that, our constitution states that the marriageable age is 18 years. So the issue of child marriage in Zimbabwe has been constitutionalized. Let me just make an allusion to part of the judgment, which I just quote. I'm talking of section 78 and 81 of our constitution, which states the paragraph which is pertinent is this: the effect of section 78 of the constitution and section 81 of the constitution is very clear. A child cannot found a family. There are no provisions in the constitution for exceptional circumstances. It is an absolute prohibition in line with the provisions of Article 21, you see, with the African Charter. The prohibition affects any kind of marriage. So you see, in Zimbabwe, the issue of child marriage is illegal. It has been constitutionalized, and with a constitutional court judgment, which actually won an award. It was accorded an award by a Rwanda-based organization called Women's Link Worldwide. So I can actually say, I can actually make an assertion that in Zimbabwe, we are pace setters. We have set a pace for the other countries to follow suit. Not only that, we have got the National Action Plan again. Our traditional leaders have gone, before the Lusaka Joint Declaration on Ending Child Marriages, our traditional leaders adopted a communique on ending child marriages, which is a local commitment before the Lusaka Declaration on Ending Child Marriages, which shows that our traditional leaders are actually in the forefront in this ability to end child marriages. We have got in Zimbabwe, we have got mobile birth registrations which are taking place. We have got the National Action Plan, I've talked about it, and communication strategy. I can say in Zimbabwe, what is only lacking, the only challenge in Zimbabwe is alignment of the laws to the constitution, so that the constitutional court judgment can become effective and enforceable. At the moment, there's we've got a lot of laws which have to be aligned with the constitution in light of this landmark constitutional court judgment. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation from Zimbabwe. We are back now to move to Zambia. Thank you so much, Your Highness.
Hello. Hello.
Can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I would also like to experience or to share our experience, the experiences that we face here in Zambia. The common experiences we face is especially the Minister of the Ministry of Health. We have a problem of communication, especially at the time of COVID-19. We have a problem of communication, transport, and we are appealing to our nation or our people who is supposed to give us some support, because when we try to meet the headmen and these committees, the village committees, we always face some challenges of moving to meet them and to sensitize them. That's because of the areas, they are too far, and without being supported by the ministry in charge, we normally find difficulties to make sure that we meet our people and give the information to them. So we also appeal to our nation to make sure that, especially the Ministry of Justice, to put up a strong laws and for the offenders, so that the traditional leaders, village committees, and other partners, we can work in the normal ways without being intimidated by these offenders. But the most important thing here in Zambia, we are trying to say is that we normally face a lot of challenges when we want to make sure that we meet our people and we talk to them. We try to stop the virus. So in all, we are working hard and we are trying to go forward. We are appealing again to those people who are in charge to assist us, to support us in our work. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I don't know if there's any addition from the House. We are looking at also the other best practices like are working well as we try to fight child and forced marriages in our chiefdoms. Yesterday, His Highness Chief Chamuka talked about a number of interventions which are being implemented in the chiefdom. Maybe we can add can speak to that.
Thank you so much. I think the audience, you are able to hear me. What I want to say on the best practice which we are doing in our chiefdoms here in Luapula Province, Mansa District, as the first speaker alluded to, also in our chiefdoms, we have come up with the bylaws to make sure every village, every person have those bylaws. In our areas also, we have come up with the committees to see to read that every village person through the zone chairpersons have those committees, so that whatever is happening in our communities, they are bringing to traditional leaders at the palace, because the palace is the headquarters in our communities. So those bylaws and the committees and the teachers, we are working together so that we see that no child marriages can be done in our communities without involving us traditional leaders. So we have come up with those bylaws. And every month end, we make sure that the village persons bring up the pots where they are in our society. For us traditional leaders there to see that there's no hidden early pregnancies and early child marriages in our communities. And as our fellow traditional leader said in the Central Province, also we came up with we have made the stiff punishment for those people who are marrying off the underage, below 18 children. For take an example in my area, because we don't have kettles, so we have come up with the punishment of charging them the goats. If we find that a girl has got married, so we punish the boys, the perpetrator who have married up the girl, and the girl herself, who have accepted to get married to that young man or to a man. So both sides, we came up with that bylaw that we punish both sides instead of maybe punishing a male child, just a male. So both of them, we have come up to say no, it's better we punish both of them, because also the girl, the one who accepted to say no, can you marry me? Or a girl was the one who said no, let us go and sleep in the bush. So both of them, we said no, we will be punishing them if we have found that they have get pregnancies or get married, maybe without the consent of parents. That's what we have come up with. For those who are getting married below 18 or below 16, those people also we have come up to say no, let us just report them to the police, because some of those things we cannot even handle it in our community, in our chiefdoms. So we said for those who are marrying off the girl child below 18 or below 16, that is a police case. So those people are just straightforward to the police. I think those are the good challenges which we have come up in our communities, in our chiefdoms here in Master District. Thank you.
Can I throw in something?
Yes, please.
Good morning. I hope you can hear me.
Good morning. Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much. I'm another chief from Mansa. I just want to allude to what my two other chiefs have contributed to the subject. Let me begin by sharing the experience, similar experience that the one that has just been talked about. The experience that we have is that early marriages, early teenage pregnancies in our chiefdoms is commonly experienced in our chiefdoms. The problem that we face probably would be with the parents in general, who are the main culprits. The main culprits for one reason that when they marry off children at tender age, to them it's more like an income earner. They benefit from these marriages of their children. But then the consequences that go with this is what actually worries, because when you marry off a child at a tender age, the problem we have is that the problem they experience in their early marriage encounters backfires on the parents. They begin to take care of the children that are born, including even the couple itself, because they are not capable of looking after themselves well. They become extra dependent on the parents. This is why now the chiefs and alongside with our village persons, we put our heads together so that we try and fight, or rather wage war against the stage. This cage is indeed not safe. It's not good for us in society because it retards development. We
cannot develop when we've got a lot of these problems within our reach. We are grateful that we have organizations that have come in the fight against the scourge. For example, where we are today, we are with the Plan International. They are our partners. There are other stakeholders from the NGOs and the ministries within the country, like education, health, social welfare, and the like. All these have joined hands with the chiefs so that we fight this scourge. One of the steps that we've taken is that we've looked at the age at which we think we should come in. Of course, we've said anything below 18, we cannot call it a marriage. As a result, those that have married in that age, in that category of age, we've been separating them from these illegal marriages, so-called. And the efforts have been made by chiefs to send back these children to school. Of course, this has been going very well, but the main challenge that we face as chiefs and our fellow traditional leaders and the other stakeholders who are helping us is that when we take these children to school, other chiefdoms can manage until when they finish school and they go to college, they can wait for employment. But for other chiefdoms, where it's not possible, children end up maybe probably after being removed from school, and when there are too many, the chiefdom cannot afford to pay for everyone. They may start. And what happens is that the children will tell you, you're taking us out of marriages, but what is it there for us? Take us to school. When there's no money, that's the problem. So we are saying now that I think the government should make it a policy that when the children have been found alternative ways of surviving, there must be a policy that should be there that it must be automatic, that the sources should be there for them to be assisted. We have put in place also bylaws. Bylaws are working out very well, and we are succeeding in making sure that the marriages amongst teenage children and the girl child are minimizing, because we are able to identify these problems. For example, anything below 18, according to our penal code in this country, anyone who marries over a child at that age, anything below 18 commits an offense, and one has to be prosecuted along with the perpetrator. So we are saying so far the bylaws are paying off in all areas of concern. We just hope that with the domestication of bylaws from all African countries, and we come up with one so that we speak with one voice over these issues. I think at the end of the day, we shall achieve our mission. I thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chagres. Many with the Mozambique to present. Mozambique. Mozambique, are we here?
Yes, we are. Can you hear us?
Meu nome chama Albertina Fabian, líder comunitário. Meu nome chama Albertina Fabian, líder comunitário. Uma experiência nós os líderes de Jangamo, quando tomamos o conhecimento da lei das uniões prematuras, primeiro criamos comitês de proteção, onde envolvemos líderes religiosos, líderes comunitários, tradicionais e outros jovens e outros comitês existentes na comunidade. Reuniões populares nas cerimônias fúnebres, assim como casamentos, nós reunimos. Reintegração das crianças na escola que abandonam a escola por causa de gravidez precoces, casamentos prematuros e outras causas. Sensibilização para o registro de nascimento e conservação dos documentos dos pais do registro, depois do registro. Sensibilização para o registro de nascimento dos pais para deixar as crianças a participarem na atividade dos clubes de mudança. Como nós enxergamos nas escolas, assim como outros setores, temos clubes que criamos para que as crianças possam ir participar nesses clubes. E assim, falamos sempre com os pais para poderem deixar as crianças, porque outros pais não estão de acordo da lei que nós sempre divulgamos. E assim nós mobilizamos sempre os pais, para que deixem as crianças, através dessas sensibilizações. Alguns pais acatam e alguns... E são desses pais que não aceitam, que nós, dia após dia, nós, os líderes, vamos atrás deles a mobilizar. Também estamos nos nossos encontros, sensibilizamos os pais assim como os jovens, para o apoio para a divulgação da lei sobre o combate às uniões prematuras. Como nós sempre trabalhamos com os nossos jovens, os jovens também envolvemos, quando vamos às reuniões, nas nossas reuniões, também demos um jovem a divulgar a lei para se sentir que aquele jovem que ainda não está na matéria do jovem. Então, vendo o outro jovem a fazer a sua divulgação. Então, também o outro jovem pode se enquadrar e a sentir que mesmo esta lei, pela verdade, devemos cumprir. E assim, alguns jovens já estão a cumprir. Também sensibilizamos os nossos pais, como a nossa tarefa, para poderem, dia após dia, falar com os seus filhos em matéria de abordagem para a saúde, sobre a saúde sexual com os seus filhos. Tem daqueles pais que ainda não aceitam, que não acham que aquilo mesmo pode dizer o teu filho a dizer que isto aqui é isto, é nome. E também tem dos pais que não sintam vergonha, como o passado sentia-se vergonha de falar diretamente do sexo da menina ou do sexo do pai, do menino. E assim nós, como líderes, como a nossa tarefa, mobilizamos esses pais capazes de sentar e dizer a realidade à tua criança que isto aqui, meu filho, é isto mesmo. Porque os pais ainda não têm aquela ideia do passado de dizer que eu mobilizo o meu filho a dizer que fala aí, este sexo é nome, é isto, aquilo ali é mau. Mas nós, como a nossa tarefa, sempre dia após dia, falamos com os pais, capazes de sentar, fazer ver o filho dele, fazer ver a filha dela capaz de mesmo saber o que é saúde reprodutiva sexual. É a nossa tarefa como líderes. E temos desafios também. Por causa das normas sociais, os pais não falam abertamente com os seus filhos sobre a saúde sexual e reprodutiva. Falei pela primeira vez, alguns pais de verdade falam e alguns pais, mas como nós, como líderes, estamos a ver que é um desafio e nós juramos por aguentar e acabar esse desafio. E também nos desafios das uniões prematuras, nós encaminhamos o caso para a instância, mas existe um limite que nós não conseguimos, pelo menos, a levar o caso, o seu segmento. Por exemplo, o segmento dos casos de casamentos prematuros, quando reportamos à polícia. É um desafio que nós, os líderes, às vezes, tivemos nos nossos trabalhos. Muito obrigada.
Thank you so much. We get an interpretation for that presentation. Maybe you can summarize.
Okay. Well, I think you got everything. Do I need to interpret it? Portuguese is very simple.
From Zambia, we didn't get anything.
Okay, right. That was just to break the ice. Well, the community leaders here have been carrying out very interesting activities to fight early marriages in their communities at different levels. So the community leader, Albertina Fabião, from Magais locality in Jangam district, was sharing here some of their experiences. So what they say is that they've learned a lot about the law once it was approved in 2019, the law against the early unions in Mozambique. And what they've been doing ever since is carrying out a number of activities. And one of the activities that they've been carrying out is that of talking about the consequences of early marriages in any opportunities that they have during the meetings in the community. Because usually in the communities there are open meetings for every members in the community. So they use these situations to spread the new word on the law that has been approved. They also follow up with the girls that have already been registered. They sensitize the meetings of Child of Champions because in their understanding, there are still some resisting parents in allowing their children to attend these clubs. Apart from that, they've created committees for child protection involving religious as well as traditional leaders in the community, involving also secretaries and the youth. Now, as regard to the involvement of children in the schools for the cause of fighting against early marriages and early pregnancies, they actually do so in those schools which accept the cause and they're quite committed with the cause and establish a linkage with the Child Champions of Change. They also hold meetings for sharing and also disseminating the law on early pregnancy as well as early unions in Mozambique. They also sensitize parents to openly talk to their children on issues on sexual reproductive health. However, they find as very challenging for many parents to openly discuss these issues around sexuality with their children because of strongly established social norms in the communities, which make these parents to be ashamed or embarrassed to openly discuss this topic with their children. So they are not feeling themselves open to use the proper names to discuss the human organs with their children and many other topics. The other challenge that they've experienced has to do with situations whereby when there are early marriage cases in the communities which are reported, then they take these cases to the police. So what they find as the challenge is following up with this case because the police usually does not report back to them. So it's difficult for them to know what was the closure of such cases of early marriages. So in few words, this is what they've shared on their experiences as well as their challenges. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mozambique. I think every country has presented. So maybe given an opportunity to look at the gaps in this adaptation of the AU protocols and normative frameworks in the area of ending child marriages, what do we see as real challenges or real gaps at community level? And then maybe we can proceed to look at the recommendations at the continent level and also at the country level and at our respective community level so that we see the way forward. Even as we move to the action planning, we already would have identified certain areas to focus on. So maybe we start with the first country which was Tanzania. What do we see as the actual gaps in the adaptation of these AU protocols in the area of ending child marriages? And what are your recommendations? How do we move forward in terms of at the continental level, national level, and at the community level? Thank you, Zimbabwe. I mean Tanzania. Tanzania, did you get my question?
Please, can you repeat your question?
Okay, thank you. So we are now looking at the existing gaps in the adaptation of AU protocols and normative actions or frameworks in the area of ending child marriages. What do we see as the gaps? And going forward, what are the recommendations at the continent level, at the national level, and at our respective community level? Thank you.
Okay, in Tanzania, we can provide some few challenges that we are facing in the implementation of activities focusing on early marriages. First of all, we have the knowledge gap. Because all the planned and child marriages are provided in our national guidelines. But in some cases, we are getting challenged because in the communities, not all members of the communities are aware of the guideline provided in written documents. So it is, we find that we have had work to do so that the knowledge is spread in the whole communities so that in cooperation with the government officials, with the staff from the private organizations, local leaders, and the community, even the children themselves, to cooperate in ending the child marriages. So for us, the knowledge gap is a challenge. But as time goes, we are trying to put the effort in making sure that the communities are getting the proper information on the target of the government to end the child marriages and the adaptation from the AU protocols. Therefore, we are trying our level best to conduct the meetings with the different groups of people from our relative communities. We are conducting the meeting with teachers, with the children in their clubs. We are making also the village meetings and stakeholders meeting also, so that we are getting all awareness of what is focusing to end the child marriages. But also we are facing the one challenge, especially if the cases are reported to our committees responsible for ending these child marriages. As I said before, that in several cases we are getting from the affected parties. They are afraid. Sometimes they are afraid from the economic factor, because they think if they cooperate with officers or with police to provide the evidence. So if the man who is caused the pregnancy maybe can be responsible or in jail. So how will this lady or this girl will be cared economically? So there is a situation like that. But also there is a tendency to resolve the cases at family levels. Two parties, the affected and the people who are the causative. So they come together and they communicate, they discuss, and they resolve the cases at home. So if the chance of the authorities to deal with the cases, they are getting such challenge in the way that if they want these two parties to come at the court sometimes to provide some evidences, and so that the case is resolved at the law authorities. So it is somehow difficult. But also another challenge that we are experiencing in the community, some of these girls, they don't have some identification evidence, because some are getting, they have no birth certificate that it shows clearly the age of the girl. So you may find a girl is, you may find the girl is pregnant, is having pregnancy. So if we try to deal with the case, the girl is telling the authority that she's maybe over 18 in age. And in that case, if she don't have the certificate, the birth certificate, it is difficult somehow to deal with the case, because with no evidence that shows that this is under 18 in age. And also, sometimes we have the financial constraints, because some cases are maybe identified from the far areas to the police stations. So you may find the communities fail to come and report the cases because of financial constraints. That's all. If you are the lady or the girl is losing her right, but also in Tanzania, sometimes we have the gap in the parties which are responsible to deal with these children cases. For example, schools have given responsibility to take care of children while they are at school. And if any case or any event of violation of child is happening at school. So it means the teacher at school are responsible to report the case and try at the initial stage to deal with that case. But sometimes you may find that they are delaying until the report comes to the authorities, it is somehow late. So it is also a challenge. So I think we need to put an extra effort to create awareness and to tell the people the importance of dealing with these issues immediately after it has happened in the community. These are some challenges that we are facing here in Tanzania. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tanzania, for the presentation. Unless if we have any other contribution from the House in terms of the recommendations at continental, country, and community level, looking at all these challenges and the gaps which we have identified. We have specific recommendations. Of course, the previous speaker talked about having more awareness so that people are aware of the provisions in the national guidelines, because we have identified information gaps. So what else would we recommend to be done? We have any contributions from Tanzania? Okay, thank you. We can move to the next country, which was Malawi. Malawi, you can make your presentation. We are looking at the existing gaps in the adaptation of AU protocols and normative frameworks in the area of ending child marriages. What do we see as gaps? And what are some of the recommendations we would want to make at the continental, country, and community level?
Thank you. This is Malawi. The first, one of the gaps that we've noted is what I would call popularization of the protocols as well as the national laws. In Malawi, we have really made some strides in contextualizing the AU protocols in our laws as well as our policies. But I think the popularization, one of the things that I would give is that we have had what we call, even we have tried to look at all the children as well as the, yes, but maybe we haven't really popularized some of the protocols, but we have made the efforts. So I think that's one of the gaps that we are seeing, because the fight has to be guided by all that. The second one is that we have of child marriages, as much as we've seen a lot of support from partners and so on, but sometimes there are bottlenecks in the implementation in the supply chain, and that this is riddled by a lack of resources. Like most cases, actually, when they are reported, for example, to police through either the national helpline or other partners that are working, like Plan Malawi, GENET, and so many other partners, you find that maybe police have no fuel, have no resources to follow up on those cases. Maybe they will prioritize other cases as opposed to the cases of child marriages, leading to maybe stifling the efforts that the communities have in as far as reporting those cases is concerned. So on the resources, again, we have looked at our chiefs. Our good chiefs here are very eager and are working towards issues of child marriages. But then you will notice that there are issues of limited investment and limited support. So that also really affects the issue of how far their efforts can go in as far as fighting and ending issues of child marriage is concerned. But again, one of the other issues that we've noted as Malawi is that there isn't support, coherent support to the survivors, because most of the issues that we understand are the push and the pull factors. Some of the push factors in this issue could be issues of poverty, for example. And then even the chiefs, sometimes their efforts are really affected, because once they will put in efforts to make sure that children go back to school, but the same efforts will come back to them in the sense that the children, once they go back to school, they will actually say, now I'm back in school, but then where is the school fees and what have you? So we need actually to make sure that these efforts are also supported by the support that will come from maybe the government and other various stakeholders. But again, we have also noted in other instances that some of the youths or the children that are involved in issues of child marriages, there is also lack of skills and value for education and other issues. So we still have a gap that needs actually empowerment in the life skills of our children to make sure that they really value their education as well as set realistic goals for their lives. As a matter of quick recommendations for Malawi, one, the protocols and the national laws, we have good laws that are trying to deal with that. Let me cite maybe one of the examples. We have what we call the specific law that is dealing with the we call it child. That one is section for especially the harmful cultural practices, not forcing children into marriage and so on. But what we would encourage is that we need to popularize that and also make sure that it's synchronized with our penal code. Because much as our constitution, as reported yesterday by the director, says that the children are persons under the age of 18, but the penal code, when it comes to sexual offenses, it has a gap in the sense that they look at defilement for children under the age of 16. So there's a gap in covering all those children that are 17 and below 18. So that has been also the debate that we still need as a country to continue debating as well as really finalizing to ensure that the children are protected from all those cases. I think we have learned from Zimbabwe that they did that 18 is a case that you can't marry a child and what have you. So that's very important because Constitution is the supreme law of the land. In terms of the supply chain, we are still recommending government to continue supporting the various actors in this manner, like police, social welfare, and so many other sectors, as well as without putting this fight only on civil society partners. So I think that has been the issue, and the resources also apply to the chiefs the same. For our youths, lastly, we need issues of life skills as well as empowerment to ensure that they know their role and they are assertive, they assert their authority and responsibility, and then they also take lead in the fight. As you have noted that we have youths, even in this forum, that are leading the fight, but we need now this to become a community initiative through the awareness and the support. I believe these are some of the key issues that we put across as a country, and we believe if well implemented, they can help in the efforts to curb this monster for child marriages. Thank you very much. Over from Malawi.
Thank you so much, Malawi. We move to Zimbabwe. From Zimbabwe, we get to Zambia. So Malawi, we are looking at the existing gaps in the adaptation of the AULO protocols and the normative frameworks in the area of fighting child marriages, and at continental country and also at community level.
My name is Love Moti and I'm Mutasa, Chief Mutasa. In Zimbabwe, as I alluded to the Constitutional Court judgment, the only challenge we have at the moment is alignment of our laws with Constitution. We have got so many pieces of legislation which will give legal effect to child marriages. For instance, a child is, one egg says a child is someone below 16 years. The legal age of majority is saying 18 years. We have got so many eggs with different ages of children. So we are saying the laws should be aligned so that we end without alignment of these laws. Honestly, we won't win this battle. So in Zimbabwe, as I alluded to, as I said before, the Constitutional Court landmark judgment, the age of consent. Let me just give you a good example of gray area, which has to be addressed. The age of consent in Zimbabwe, sexual consent is 16 years. But our Constitutional Court judgment says you cannot marry. You cannot marry when you're under 18 years. But it is silent on the issue of age of consent. So what our Constitution, what the judgment says is that you can have sexual intercourse with someone 16 years, but don't get married, which is again a contradiction. This is why I'm saying our laws should be aligned to the Constitution. It's only alignment of the laws. And I'm happy that the marriage bill is now before Parliament. And I hope an act of Parliament will be passed. Once it's passed, then I think in Zimbabwe we are home and dry as far as child marriage is concerned, because the issue of child marriage will be criminalized. So what you are crying for, what you have been crying for, is criminalization of child marriages. So there isn't much in Zimbabwe besides alignment of laws.
Thank you so much.
So
Zimbabwe.
traditional leaders, we have been very vocal about alignment of laws. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If there is no other contribution, we can get to Zambia. Zambia, we are looking at the existing gaps in the adaptation and domestication of the AU protocols and normative actions in the fighting against child marriages. And maybe you provide the recommendations at the continent level in terms of Africa, at the national level at Zambia, and also at our respective community levels. What would we do to handle these issues, especially the identified gaps? The presenter from Zambia. Thanks.
Thank you. Just want to give some recommendations to AU protocols. I'm sure some other chiefs will give another recommendation. Some of the recommendations that I would like to give is, one is to keep on sensitization. Secondly, to disseminate the bylaws on child marriages and teenage pregnancies to our subjects. Another one is to encourage subjects to report all cases of child marriages and teenage pregnancies to chiefs. Then another one is to ensure that parents should prove of the ages of their children to prove if the child is mature enough or not. Another one is to make sure that the child, after maybe by mistake get pregnancy, and after that, we need to ensure that the child goes back to school. Then another one is the ministries in charge to give a full support to the chiefs so that they continue sensitizing our people, to continue visiting our people, to continue teaching our people by giving that support of maybe transportation and other things that can help them to do the work. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Highness from Zambia. Any other contribution? Or we have to... No problem.
Name from Matanda and Mumansa.
Chief Matanda from Mansa District.
Apo ifunde yauteko lile kanya kumwana okukanya kwati efumo wangu. So if you ever kamanga bajamfumu, filo kulondolela abantu kupitila meeting kubeba ubibu aba kuyimita bwangu.
Okay.
Kwaba amalwele batira fistula lamulole mwananga akwata tete yakuleyo kuti asuka afwa nokubeba ubi bwaba ma operation mwananga ali mwana omuno no takwetenshiringa ine inga lengo kuti mwana apape wino akalengwa nomba akamute operation so filo kolondolela ubo apopokana kwata amafumu wangu abana bengi balekita mupatumbula so tatiamanika kunufika hiyo abana balefu wangu pamwana munono nibya kwata fya abana babiri apita mu operation awo nakaje bamu batiwe wakati fya abana babiri epera abo ashano kukwata ngatakuti au pingo wine ngakwata ngakwete abana bengi nombo mububi bwabo so ifukonga ya mfumu kubalondolela ububi bwabo pakukana pakukana kwata ufyashi kwangu nokubatinya abantu kubatinya mububi mwananga abana efumo kuti afwa wangu abana bakwata amafumu below 18 bala bana tabatole umi wabo yo bala fwa wangu so fikonga ya mfumu kubalondolela bya ubi bwabo akulu so mwana akoselele mpaka fiti amafupa yakakosa yakakwata maka yakwato mwana munapwe ile nomba angokwa nangu ke yanga kwato abana kaiteti alokuja amafumu abana tukanokuishwa bantu befundeletila umwana ubuntu wose ukwetefumu ufile kwapela kupatala so tulakuma hospitals nokumona kutila nokutupela mashine y'abana abafirwe neni akabakwete bantu umwana ngafira ufile kwaba kabese record so bala bantu tulakwata mashine y'abana abafirwe so eti tukanokuishwa imyaka yawo umwana ukwetefumu nakuwa papa kutwaishwa kupitila kupitila kabiri nokupata kwangu abana machasa zapata HIV yalifyo sana bantu akwete umwana iyo mafa yashira kosa iyo kabiri akwata kwangu umwana nokwenda kwache ndende kwa mlenga akatakwenda jamaa lele ayaya kapanga HIV na totela
Did we hear the presentation? It was made in Bemba. Maybe briefly, the chief was highlighting that the national guidelines, we are not allowed to allow child marriages below the age of 18. So as traditional leaders, we are ensuring that we follow up, especially with the Ministry of Health in the clinics, because when somebody gives birth from the clinics, which is a requirement in Zambia that everybody is expecting is supposed to register from the nearby health facility, and they're required to give birth from there. So it's very easy to get the birth records, and that's something the traditional leaders are using to check and verify the age of a child. It was also trying to highlight some of the challenges which are being experienced by the girls who get pregnant early. There are a lot of health-related challenges where sometimes you find the girls, there are so many operations because the body was not ready to give birth at that particular time. So as traditional leaders, we continue creating awareness in the communities, highlight challenges, so that they can identify child marriages. Thank you. There's another contribution from the House.
I think what I want also to add on or to say is that in our communities, what we want to see, maybe through the government, the challenge of distance schools, the government come to schools in our communities. You'll find, sir, that because of this poverty level in our communities, you'll see that maybe people fail to take their children to school because of building up more schools in our communities. I think also it can reduce marriage, early marriages to our school, to our girl children. Also, what I can say is the capacity on the capacity of fees. I think it can come up with a policy because we want to see that a girl child can go to school. Now, in our societies where we stay, in our communities where we stay, because of the source which we are looking, which we are seeing in our communities, I think we, as traditional leaders, we are appealing to the government. We can appeal to the government to come up with a policy of paying the school fees for girl children from grade 8 to up to level, so that at least we reduce the burden to the parents. If the government can do so, I think also we can reduce the early marriages to our children in the communities. Because you find that maybe an elderly woman has 4 or 5 children who are going to higher secondary schools. And because of the higher price of the fees to schools, they fail to pay for the children. Now, if the government can come up with that to pay for to abolish the payment of the school girls, I think it can help, because as traditional leaders also, we'll be forcing them that you are not paying anything to the schools. Why are you letting the children to be staying in the village and get married? I think that way it will help us traditional leaders. Also, what I can also say, also increase sexual reproductions to our girl children at schools. If the government also, we can, and the other NGOs, we come up with the reproduction or the increase of reproduction to our young children, more especially for those who are going to school, for those, if they can provide the contraceptive measures to school children, for them not to get early pregnancies. I think also it can help us traditional leaders also to control our people in the communities. Let me end from here. Thank you.
Good morning again. I'm back. I'm Chief Mabumba. Wants to just allude to what has been contributed by my fellow chiefs. On the challenges, I want to begin by saying poverty in our communities should have also contributed to what is being experienced, where we experience early marriages among children and indeed teen pregnancies. I've said this because of lack of income. When in the family there's not sufficient support, they don't have enough food, children in that family cannot resist temptation. Therefore, it would be my suggestion that parents should work hard. If anything, families should be assisted by way of receiving inputs, so that during the season, parents can work on the chambers or on the fields to provide sufficient food for for the family. When children, they will resist any temptation when it comes to like the verse that we are talking against here. Ignorance is another issue. When society we experience high levels of redress. This also will make people not to understand what is going on. Even when programs come which are supposed to benefit society, it will be seen that they will be shunned. Others will receive them with the mixed feelings. So there is need when programs of this kind come to our chiefdoms or in our communities, sensitization must be key, so that those myths that go behind with what we are fighting can be defeated, can be eradicated. Therefore, even the dangers of this stage will be reduced. By sensitization, we are talking of messages that should get across to our people in the communities. This can be done by radio stations, drama can also be part of that, and many other forms of sensitization methods, so that everyone gets the message. When we want to fight any scourge that haunts our society, we first look at the sources. You cannot fight war without a gun. So even for these vices that we are talking about, or this scourge that we are talking about, for it to be fought, indeed there must be resources. There must be financials. There must be well-wishers who should come in and help us in whatever form in order for us to win. When that is done, definitely we shall see that we achieve the mission. The idea of fighting this scourge in a periodical manner, once in a while you meet, you find that people tend to lose interest in it. They'll think maybe it's just something that is there for the sake of talking. But where it begins with the seriousness that it deserves, you find that even this scourge will be defeated at a fast rate. One of my chiefs has talked about school. Indeed, school is very, very important. No chiefdom can develop without its people receiving education. Therefore, education must be number one priority if to sensitize our people to fight this case that is haunting our chiefdoms. But then the problem that we have at times is that the schools of today are not schools of yesteryear. Schools of yesteryear used to provide not only the learning curriculum, but there were even activities that went with the school itself. You would find in the school there were activities, things like amenities, so that when the children are not in class, there must be something else that they are doing outside class that will occupy them, preoccupy their minds, so that they're thinking of these other things that we can think about. But this time, when we're going to school, this is the past. It's there. It happens. So the schools should come up with the sporting activities of a variety of kinds, so that the children get occupied with this to avoid the process of what we have now here. Parents have been on the cheating end, especially on age. When a parent realizes that one has married off a child of less than the given age, 18 years, they know obviously that this is an offense that they've committed. Especially, say in our country, they know that the penal code will not allow them. So quickly, what the parents are doing, they are adjusting the ages of the children to escape punishment. A child would be 16, the mother will inflate or the father will say, no, my child is 19. But when you look at the child itself, you not believe the parent, but what can you do? That child is not yours. It's the mother that is talking, the father that is talking. You can't challenge them. Why don't you challenge them? Is because these children have been born without the certificates. Yes, because where there is a certificate and you doubt the age of the child, obviously what they're going to do is they're going to challenge the parent to produce a certificate. When the certificate is produced, then you tell, no, this one is telling lies. You go with the matter to police and the parents will be prosecuted. But where there's no such a thing, obviously the case will fail because it will have no clear evidence against the culprit and indeed the perpetrators. Some provisions in the bylaws should also be checked because if you are not careful, they could be in conflict with the laws of the land, lest they are declared repugnant to national justice. There are things that probably we may, as chiefs or traditional leaders, put in place to say this is what must be done. But when you go to the laws of the land, as maybe the Constitution provides, you find that they're in conflict with the laws of the land. As a result, they become inapplicable. So when we are putting in place these bylaws, we must make sure that we consult even with the technocrats so that they help us to put in the correct thing so that we are not running in conflict with the law of the land. The bylaws, from my experience, is that they could lack support by government to perform alongside with the laws of the land. What I'm saying is that what we provide in the bylaws could be different for what the law would look at, or maybe could not be in line with the policy of the government. So it's good all the time that when the bylaws are put in place, we must work hand in hand with the government, so that when they look at what we've done, they should also say, no, this is good, you can go ahead. That way I think it will harmonize the fight by chiefs or by the traditional leaders, and indeed the chiefs in the fight of this age. I've noticed that any marriage under 18, of course, becomes an offense under the penal code. Quite all right. That one is not debatable even. But there have been mixed feelings by the recommended 21 years is an approved age for any marriage. The reason is that some parents have been saying 21, by the time my daughter is 21, should have looked ordinary. So like that she will be taken to be an old woman getting married at a later age. Others would have preferred probably between 19 and 21 that one could marry. But then our argument has been, okay, for those that are in school, we cannot allow a girl who is at school at 21 to get married. But maybe there could be a provision that when a child is 21 and is doing nothing, probably that one could go into marriage. So these are things that we should talk about. But then maybe the recommendation that I would make is that there's need for domestication of these bylaws. First, by starting to codifying them, we make them into one. All of us, all countries in Africa, put these bylaws into one, then we domesticate it alongside with the other international countries, so that by the end of the day, we speak with one voice. I think this should be my contribution. I thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think we'll go straight and give Zimbabwe a chance to also present on the existing gaps and make their recommendations. Mozambique.
Hello. Yeah, I think for us, for Zimbabwe, we've already shared on the gaps.
Yes, it's Mozambique now.
Okay.
Mozambique, we are on mute.
Mozambique, Octavia, are you with us? Team Mozambique, are you with us?
Mozambique, you are on mute.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Bom dia, eu sou Nilton Natálio Guilherme. Agradeço muito por estar neste encontro em primeiro lugar. É uma honra para mim. Eu aqui daquilo que nós temos analisado ao nível nacional e a respeito dessa lei que nós temos que visa prevenir e combater as uniões prematuras. Essa lei é uma lei que vem prevenir e combater as uniões prematuras. E nós temos expandido ela ao nível das nossas comunidades para que possamos, de uma forma unânime, combater de uma forma rápida as uniões prematuras nas nossas comunidades e assim ao nível nacional. Mas também temos visto algumas lacunas que essa lei tem nos apresentado, como a falta de introdução de cursos para as rapazes. Essa é uma das lacunas que essa lei tem, que nós temos observado, porque nós, por exemplo, encontramos um caso e resgatamos aquela
Mozambique, we can't hear you.
rapariga.
Mozambique, I think we are losing you.
Olá,
Hello.
consegue me ouvir?
We can hear you now. Yes.
Ok. Eu dizia que ao nível eu dizia que no análise dessa lei que nós temos expandido a nível das comunidades para combater as uniões prematuras, uma das lacunas que temos visto é a falta de introdução de cursos para as raparigas resgatadas. Um exemplo que eu posso dar é de uma rapariga que foi forçada a ir no lar, porque os pais viram que o namorado ou o genro tem condições para sustentar a eles, a família. Essa rapariga, quando ser resgatada do lar, vai voltar no mesmo estado e se não puder, e se não ter como trabalhar, ainda é muito provável voltar de novo ao lar. Então, essa é uma das lacunas que nós temos visto, a falta de cursos para empoderamento econômico dessas raparigas que são resgatadas dos lares prematuros. Também o segundo ponto neste caso é a falta de estabelecimento de centros de trânsito. Temos visto muito essa falta de estabelecimento de trânsito, esse lugar de acomodação das raparigas resgatadas das uniões prematuras. Também a falta de segmento de casos de uniões prematuras pela polícia. Às vezes se denunciam casos e assim a PRM não tem dado seguimento com este caso, fica no silêncio e acaba aquela rapariga atingindo a uma idade de 20 anos, que já não pode mais se resgatar do lar, porque a polícia não deu seguimento com este caso, e esta rapariga foi violada os seus direitos, e assim continua ela permanecendo no lar até uma fase que já não se pode mais resgatar. É uma das lacunas também da lei que nós temos visto na sociedade que isso tem acontecido. Também a introdução da matéria de saúde sexual e reprodutiva no currículo escolar. Nós estamos a falar disso porque nas escolas só se fala do aparelho reprodutor masculino e feminino, mas a matéria da saúde sexual e reprodutiva não é lá muito abordada em seu, posso dizer, de uma forma geral, não é abordada para que as crianças cresçam conhecendo os seus direitos, cresçam sabendo da sua saúde sexual e reprodutiva. Também temos o caso de falta de já havia falado de ponderamento econômico das raparigas. Então, e muito obrigado.
Thank you so much. Any interpretation? Mozambique, any interpretation to that presentation?
Yes, I'm going to follow up with the interpretation for the presentation from Mozambique. Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Okay, fine, thank you. So we had here the presentation from Mozambique, and this was done by Nelson. So Nelson said that what they've been doing is disseminating the law on any unit.
You are saying?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, yes.
Okay, fine. So I said the presentation was done by Nelson. And he said that what they are doing here is that they disseminated the law on eliminating early units in Mozambique. But what they feel that is a big challenge is that the girls which have been rescued from early marriages, they may end up going back to such early marriages because they come from financially from families with financial constraints, and if there's no support once these girls are rescued, then there's a great risk of these girls going back to this early marriage, because usually families, they allow their children, their daughters in this case, to get into marriage with the boy because the family of the boy has got enough resources to support the family of the girl. So what they see as one of possible recommendations to deal with this problem is establishing transit centers whereby girls who have been rescued from early marriages can be kept in and given training on vocational training so that they can have something to do to be empowered economically. What they also see as a challenge is that some of the reported cases to the police doesn't follow up. The girl ends up achieving the age of 20 and therefore see her rights violated without nothing being done to solve her problem or be rescued from the marriage. So these, in few words, are some of the things that Nelson shared. Last but not least, it has to do with the curriculum that is in place. In his opinion, the sexual reproductive right matters are not integrated or are not taught in the current curriculum. So what is done is that there are just few topics on the human body. There are just few topics on human body, and there are no approaches which allow a deeper discussion on key aspects regarding sexual reproductive health rights. So, in his opinion, there is a need of developing new curriculum in the education system, which will fully integrate sexual reproductive health rights, thus allowing our children quite at early stage to understand their body, to understand everything regarding sexual reproductive health rights, and that would lead them to be able to make informed and consent choices. And that's all.
Thank you so much, Mozambique. Yeah, I think that was the last country to present for the participation and for the rich information from traditional leaders and other states. There are gaps in terms of the information gaps, and there's a lot of recommendation that we need to continue creating awareness in the communities at various levels. Case management was another challenge which was highlighted from about 2 or 3 countries, that when cases are reported, there's usually a challenge of feedback from the police, and also logistical challenge to go and report there is no financial support, and the police are not giving feedback for those cases, so which makes it very difficult for the traditional leaders to follow through. The issue of birth identification was also identified as one of the major challenges, that in most communities you find the parents, when they negotiate with the perpetrator, it's actually very difficult to prove the age of the child without the identification. Of course, there are some countries where we are using the birth records. When the child is born, you follow through maybe from the clinic and also the schools, but it's actually very difficult when the perpetrator's family and the family of the girl discuss. It's difficult to prove that in the court of law. Those are some of the challenges which were coming. The financial support for the traditional leaders to ensure that they follow through these issues. They highlighted the issue of logistical challenges. Even the institutions, certain departments which are supposed to help us implement some of these laws, they actually have challenges of transport. You find the police not having vehicles here and there, which is difficult. Some countries actually highlighted that the national guidelines, the laws are there to deter child marriages in their chiefdoms, but there's need to contextualize the AU protocols. In some countries have presented that the process has started. There's a country which presented that the the child bill is already in parliament. So they are hoping that once it's approved, then the child marriages will be criminalized, and it will become very easy for the chiefs to implement the policies. There was a recommendation on the rolling out of the bylaws that maybe we need to work closely with government departments to ensure that we are not in conflict with the constitutions. So as we come up with the bylaws, we need to engage the professionals so that they review and just ensure that these bylaws are in line with our national constitution, so that we are not caught in conflict with the national constitution. That was a recommendation which was coming forth. And there was a recommendation in terms of empowering the girls with skills, relevant skills, so that even as they get out of the child marriages, there's a way out. There's a presentation from Mozambique, which was highlighting that it's actually difficult for somebody to come out of child marriages when there's no way out. So government should ensure that there's some resource allocated to that, so that the girls see life after child marriages, because they find it difficult to find themselves in the communities when there is no way out to support them. The school entry policy was emphasized that we need to support the girls to get back to school. And also there was a recommendation, I think from Zambia, that maybe if we can work with the government and influence that they build more schools, just to reduce a distance between schools so that the girls are encouraged to stay in school, and probably that would help us reduce the chances of the girls getting into child marriages. There is also a recommendation of increasing awareness on sexual reproductive health rights and information at different levels. And there was a recommendation that maybe we can allow the schools, the school-going girls to have access to contraceptives so that by the end of the day, we ensure that they don't end up with teenage pregnancies and get into marriages early. I think in summary, that's what I captured, but we have discussed a lot. There's a lot of learning from this discussion. So thank you so much for the participation. So at this point, this is 11:40. Maybe we get 10 minutes break. And when we get back, we move to the next session, which is action planning and declaration by traditional leaders from project countries. So that is from the 5 countries presented here. Thank you so much. You can take a 10 minutes break. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret, for the excellent facilitation of this session. So I hope we will be back after. Did you give 10 minutes or 15 minutes, Margaret, for a break?
I gave 10. There's a request for 15 minutes.
Is there? Okay, so okay, let's give 15 minutes. That's okay, but please be back for 15 minutes after 15 minutes, and we will come back to our next session, which is really important in terms of our engagement in this project going forward, because we have already discussed our experiences, the gaps in each country, EU protocols and aspiration adaptation at national and chiefdom level. So let's come back after 15 minutes, which will be 5 minutes to 11, no, to 12, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yes. Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you.
Maybe if you agree, let's come back after 15 minutes.
I put it here. Now you're not doing. I pay better. I pay better. I pay better. I put Mozambique. Mozambique. Mozambique, have you taken it? You take the ball, Mozambique. Okay. Where do you I take the ball. I pay better. I pay better. I pay better. I pay better. Okay. You take the ball. Where do you throw it, Mozambique? Tanzania. Tanzania. Okay. Tanzania, you have the ball. We take the ball. You take the ball. You put it here. You play better. Okay, and then where do you throw it to? Malawi. Malawi already had it. Oh, Zambia. Zambia. Okay, Zambia. Okay, Zambia, you have the ball. Zambia, you're playing the football when you're seated down. We can't hear you, Zambia. We take the ball. I take the ball. We take the ball.
I put it here.
We put it here. Okay. I pay better. I pay better. Okay. Okay, Zambia, where do you throw it to? Who do you throw it to? Zimbabwe. Okay, Zimbabwe.
I take the ball.
I take the ball. You take the ball. I put it here. I pay better.
I throw it.
I pay better. To Meti. Meti.
I take the ball.
Meti. Okay, Meti has left us. Okay. Zacharias, are you there? I take the ball.
I'm here,
Where do you
Jenny.
put it? Okay, you take the ball. Where do you put it? Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I take the ball. I put it here. And then I throw it back to Jenny. I think.
Okay, thank you so much. Sam, are you there? Do you want to play better? I take the ball. I put it on my back. I pay better, and I throw it to Sam.
Okay. Is Sam with us?
I can see you better.
Yeah.
Yes, Sam is here.
I take the ball.
I
put it here.
Ball. We can't
put
see
it
you,
here.
Sam.
Okay, Sam.
Take it to put it.
You can see me?
We can see you now.
Yeah, I pay better.
Your cup is your ball, Sam. Okay. You pay better. And then, okay, Zacharias. Sam has thrown the ball to you. Is Zach with us? I think he's not with us. Thank you so much. Why are people switching off their cameras? Or is it my internet? Thank you so much, guys. That was fun. So I give the meeting back to Meti. Meti? You're muted, Meti.
Thank you, Jenny, for that energizer. I think it will be working. as we will be moving forward to the next session, which is on action planning and declaration preparation by project countries, the traditional leaders from the 5 countries. But please allow me to introduce our facilitator for this session, who is the project coordinator from Plan Tanzania for the 18+ project. Helen, thank you so much for facilitating this session. But before she starts, I just wanted to stress that the planning session, the action planning session, will be focusing on what you will do as a country, as a country and at chiefdom level, in relation to the gaps that you were discussing in the previous session, in relation to the adaptation of AU protocols, expectations, aspirations on ending child marriage. So over to you, Helen, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Meti. Welcome back to the session of action planning and declaration. This session will be, the action planning at the end of the day will be developed by the traditional leaders with the help of the country facilitators. In reflection to yesterday's session, we had a presenter who presented on the AU ending marriage campaign, also the AU aspiration, expectation, and the AU recommendations to the traditional leader on their role to end the child marriage. Also yesterday, we had the panel discussion on the African Union Protocol, normative framework on ending child marriage, whereby we had many presentations and the discussion on the national adaptation and the domestication. Also, we heard a lot from our chiefs, how they have been adapting and domesticating the AU protocol at community levels. We also had the panel on the impact of COVID-19 on ending child marriage, whereby we heard from different countries how what they have been doing in ending child marriage during the COVID-19 era. Also, we had our young people who shared the experience of working with traditional leaders in the communities. So from yesterday's reflection, we heard a lot and we learned a lot of things. In today's session, the traditional leaders, with the help of country facilitators, as I said before, they are going to do the following. Each country will discuss and identify if there are any gaps on national adaptation of the AU aspiration protocol and the legal framework on ending child marriage. As I said, yesterday we had Nenda Hundu, who presented on the ending child marriage campaign. She presented on the AU aspiration and protocols. So each country will develop the action planning and the declaration by basing and addressing the gaps identified in adaptation and the domestication of legal framework in ending child marriage. Also, another thing, each country is supposed to compose and design the key messages of communication or advocacy for reaching the stakeholders through traditional leaders. We know that the traditional leaders have a very good influence in the community. So we are going to use them in delivering the messages to the stakeholders and the community at large. The action plan, which is going to be developed today by the traditional leaders, will be reviewed on the next coming meeting. So we should remember that. So the next thing is that I will give 1 hour to each country to discuss and identify these gaps. Then we'll have one representative from each country who will be representing other participants, and we will present on the action plans and the declaration. Meti, do you have any addition?
No, Helen. Maybe there is a question on the chat which is saying the traditional leaders from Zambia are asking about a date for the next meeting. So I think I should address that. So in this project, we have two regional traditional leaders exchange meeting, which will be organized by Plan AULO. So, where initially it was planned to be conducted face-to-face, but we have this COVID situation, and we have organized the first virtual meeting. So the main objective of this activity in particular is to have the first meeting to develop these action plans and declaration by the traditional leaders with regards to the national adaptation and domestication of AU protocols, aspirations and expectation on ending child marriage. The second meeting, which will be reviewing what has been done by the traditional leaders vis-a-vis their action plans on the national adaptation and the domestication of these protocols and aspirations. So the next meeting, we haven't set the date. It is being pushed to reach the level. We don't have the exact dates, but it would be before the end of the project period. So as Helen was mentioning, when we do the action planning, we should think about the activities that we are going to implement, and it should also base on the gaps as countries that we are facing. For instance, in the previous discussion, we have heard that there are countries which mentioned that they have all the necessary laws and guidelines that align with the AU protocols and aspirations, but the problem is awareness creation about these laws. And in some countries, it has been mentioned that there is a problem of harmonization among the laws within the country. So the constitution says one thing and the other legislation says another. So I just wanted to stress that you should really put that into consideration while you developing your action plans. But for the next meeting, it would be there will be a meeting, but we don't have the exact dates. But when you develop the action plans, maybe plan like from 3 to 4 months from now on, because tentatively, I mean, from the information that we have, we will be ending the project by December, but we want to do the next meeting before the end of the project. So you can plan like up to 4 months or from 3 to 4 months. So yeah, I hope that answers your questions, Zambia, Team Zambia. Okay, so yes, Helen, you can continue.
Thank you, Meti. Okay, so like I said before, I will provide 1 hour for each country to sit together and discuss so that they can identify the gaps and come up with a very good action plan. And these action plans will be implemented in our chiefdom levels. Just before we break into our country group discussions, I'm just reminding you that we should focus on the action plan should focus on the adaptation of AU aspirations and protocol, also the ending child marriage legal framework. So it's 1:20 here in Tanzania. I know we are 1 hour ahead. So let us meet. For us, it will be 2:20, but for you, it will be 1:20. So let us meet 1 hour from now, so that each country can start presenting their development action plans. Thank you.
Helen? So okay, 1 hour. So basically, when we developed the agenda, we said we'll have a lunch at 1:30 up to 2:30. So you said that we'll be back at 2:20. Is that it?
Yes, 2:20.
Okay, so 2:20. They will be working on the assignment, but I think we should break for lunch at that time. What do you think? I mean, let's hear from the participants, and then after lunch we will be presenting the action plans and the declaration documents. Does that work?
Display. Yeah, can you just go through Helen, the AU protocols we should focus on, and if you can help just display them for us. So if you can mention the protocols again and just a display on your screen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Team Zambia. The AU protocols will be shared on my screen so that each country, while developing the action plans, can be reflecting on the AU protocols and the expectations. So, Meti, at what are we going to come back?
You said yes. You said we'll come back at 2:20, right? Your time. Yeah. I mean our time. Yeah. So that time will be lunch time. And then or maybe at 2:20, let the participants or each country confirms that they have finished their assignment, and then we will go to lunch. So
that sounds good.
Yes, okay, good. So let's meet at 2:20 or 1:20 from the southern Africa. Yeah. Jenny, could you please allow Helen to share her screen? I think she can't. Or can you share your screen, Helen?
Not yet.
Okay.
Jamani, haraka haraka sasa.
Betty?
Jenny, is that you?
Yes. Did you ask me anything? No?
Actually, I was going to call you via WhatsApp.